The sky turned red over Seoul on a cold morning in 2157. Captain Ta-won Kim looked up from his post at the Tiger Sanctuary and saw the strange ships break through the clouds. They were dark, pointed, and moved like nothing made by human hands. Everyone inside. Now. Ta-won shouted to his team. The 5 workers at the sanctuary dropped their tools and ran to the main building. Ta-won stood still, watching as more ships appeared. 3 years ago, Ta-won had left his job saving tigers to join the army. Many had called him foolish. "There is no war," they said. "Why leave the animals you love?" But Ta-won had seen the signs in the night sky. Strange lights, missing satellites, and silence where there should be signals. Now, as the alien ships filled the sky, he knew he had been right to worry. The first blast hit the center of Seoul. Even from 30 miles away at the mountain sanctuary, Ta-won felt the ground shake. A bright flash lit up the morning, followed by a wave of energy that made the air feel thick and heavy. Inside the largest enclosure of the sanctuary, Baek, the oldest male Siberian tiger, roared. The sound echoed through the mountains, joined by the cries of the other 5 tigers in their separate areas. Ta-won's phone died in his hand. The sanctuary's lights went out. The electric fences powering down made a low humming sound as they failed. "The power is gone," said Min, the youngest worker, as he ran back outside. "The backup generator won't start either." Ta-won nodded. "It's an EMP, electromagnetic pulse. The aliens are knocking out our technology." In the distance, more blasts hit Seoul. Each flash was followed by another wave of energy. Ta-won watched as military jets approached the alien ships, only to fall from the sky before they could fire a single shot. "What do we do?" asked Min, his voice shaking. "We protect the tigers," Ta-won said firmly. "Without the electric fences, we need to secure their enclosures manually. Get the others and the emergency kits." As his team worked to lock the tiger's enclosures with chains and bars, Ta-won's military radio crackled to life. The special shielding had protected it from the worst of the EMP blasts. "All units, this is command," came a broken voice. "Seoul has fallen. Alien forces are moving outward from the city center. They are killing everyone. No mercy. No taking of prisoners. All civilians shielded." The voice cut off with a scream. Ta-won gripped the radio tightly. "Commander, Commander." There was no answer. By afternoon, smoke filled the sky where Seoul had stood. The sanctuary team huddled in the main building, listening to the distant sounds of destruction. "The tigers are getting strange," said Sunhai, the veterinarian. "Especially Baek. It's like the EMP did something to them." Ta-won had noticed it too. The tigers were not acting normal. They paced their enclosures, stopping to stare at the sky with unusual focus. Their pupils were wide, and they seemed more alert than afraid. That night, as the others tried to sleep, Ta-won sat by Baek's enclosure. The great tiger, over 10 years old and weighing nearly 600 pounds, came to the bars and stared at him. For a moment, Ta-won felt something strange, a flash of himself seen through other eyes. "Did you just?" he whispered, but stopped as the ground shook again. 3 alien ships were moving toward the mountains. Searchlights cut through the darkness, scanning the forests and hills. "They're hunting survivors," Ta-won realized. He rushed back to wake the others. "We need to leave now," he told his team. "Take only what you can carry. We'll head deeper into the mountains." Sunhai looked toward the tiger enclosures. "What about them? We can't just leave them locked up." Ta-won stared at Baek, who was watching him with those strange, aware eyes. The tiger had been born in captivity, but had the heart of a wild hunter. "No," Ta-won said, "we can't." As the alien ships grew closer, Ta-won made a decision that would change the course of the war to come. He reached for the keys to the enclosures. "We're taking them with us." 3 weeks after the invasion, Ta-won and his small group had made a simple camp deep in the mountains. They found a cave system with many rooms and narrow entrances that were easy to guard. The aliens, which they now knew were called the Voraks, rarely came this far into the wild areas. Taiwan sat on a rock ledge outside the cave, watching Bake hunt in the valley below. The tiger moved silently through the trees, tracking a deer. The other tigers had gone their own ways after being freed, but Bak had stayed close to the humans. "Still watching your pet?" Min asked as he joined Taiwan on the ledge. "He's not a pet," Taiwan said. "He's choosing to stay with us." "There's a difference." Sunhai appeared with a small medical kit. "Your head still hurting?" she asked Taiwan. He nodded. The headaches had started a week ago, always worst when Bake was nearby. But there was something else too, something he had not told the others. Sometimes, when the pain was strongest, he saw flashes of the forest that were not from his own eyes. He saw prey running, smelled scents no human could detect, and felt the power of muscles that were not his own. "I think something is happening to me," Taiwan said quietly. Sunhai checked his eyes with a small light. "Your pupils are dilated, just like the tigers were after the EMP waves. I wish I had better equipment to check you properly." That night, as Taiwan tried to sleep, the headache became worse than ever. He sat up, gasping in pain, and then suddenly, the pain was gone. In its place was a crystal-clear feeling. He could sense Buck outside the cave, could feel the tiger's heartbeat, as if it were next to his own. Taiwan walked outside, drawn by this strange connection. Buck sat in the moonlight, staring at him with glowing eyes. "You feel it too, don't you?" Taiwan whispered. The tiger made a low sound, not quite a growl. In Taiwan's mind, he felt a push, a nudging thought that was not his own. It carried feelings of danger and warning. Taiwan turned to look where Beck was facing. At first, he saw nothing in the dark forest. Then he closed his eyes and tried to feel what Beck felt. Suddenly, he could smell them. Vorak soldiers moving through the trees, their alien scent sharp and wrong. "They found us," Taiwan said. He ran back to the cave to wake the others. "How do you know?" Sunhai asked as she grabbed her few belongings. "I just know," Taiwan said. There was no time to explain. They had barely left the cave when the first Vorax patrol appeared. 5 tall, armored figures moved through the trees, carrying weapons that glowed with blue light. "Run," Taiwan told the others. "I'll try to lead them away." "That's crazy," Min said. "There are 5 of them, and 1 of you." Taiwan looked at Buck, who stood tense and ready beside him. "No, there are 2 of us." As the others slipped away into the forest, Taiwan faced the approaching aliens. Fear filled him, but also a strange calmness. He closed his eyes, reaching for that connection he had felt with Buck. The world shifted. Suddenly, he could see through 2 sets of eyes at once, his own and the tiger's. He could feel the ground under 4 paws and 2 feet. The tiger's strength flowed through him, and he felt his own human thoughts flow into Buck. One of the Vorax spotted him and raised its weapon. Without speaking, Taiwan and Bake understood each other perfectly. The tiger circled left while Taiwan moved right. The Vorax fired at Taiwan, but he already knew it would happen. He felt the attack coming through Buck's sharper senses and dodged just in time. Bake lunged from the shadows, a blur of orange and black. His massive weight hit the first Vorax with crushing force. At the same moment, Taiwan grabbed a fallen branch and swung it at a second alien. Together, man and tiger moved as one mind in 2 bodies. When one was in danger, the other knew instantly. When one saw an opening, both attacked. In less than 2 minutes, all 5 Vorax lay dead or dying on the forest floor. Taiwan stood shaking, his mind slowly separating from Buck's. The tiger padded over to him, eyes still glowing with that strange awareness. "What are we becoming?" Taiwan whispered, placing his hand on Buck's massive head. For the first time in human history, man and beast had fought as equals, as partners. and Taiwan knew this was just the beginning. Taiwan, Bike, and the small group walked for 2 days after the fight with the Vorax patrol. They needed to find a safer place to hide. On the 3rd morning, they saw smoke rising from a valley ahead. Could be Vorax, Min said, his voice low with worry. Taiwan closed his eyes and reached for his connection with Buck. The tiger's senses were sharper than any human's. Through Buck's nose, he smelled the smoke. It was wood smoke from a cooking fire, not the sharp chemical smell of Vorax weapons. It's humans, Taiwan said, but we should be careful. They moved closer, with Buck staying hidden in the trees. As they reached the edge of the valley, armed men and women in dirty military uniforms appeared from behind rocks and trees. "Stop right there," a woman called out. Her uniform showed she was a major. "I am Major Jisoo Park. Who are you and what are you doing in our area?" Taiwan stepped forward. "Captain Taiwan Kim, Korean Special Forces. We escaped from Seoul when it fell. We're looking for other survivors." Major Park looked at him with hard eyes. "Anyone could claim to be military. How do I know you're not working with the aliens? Some humans have turned traitor for food and safety." Before Taiwan could answer, a low growl came from the trees. Buck stepped out, his orange and black coat bright in the morning sun. The resistance fighters raised their guns. "Don't shoot," Taiwan shouted, stepping between them and Buck. "He's with me." Major Park's eyes went wide. "Control your animal, Captain, or my people will shoot it." "That's what I'm trying to tell you," Taiwan said. "I can control him. We have a connection." Jae-soo laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "A connection? With a tiger? The stress of the invasion has made you crazy." Taiwan looked at Bake and nodded slightly. The tiger sat down calmly, like a house cat rather than a 600-pound predator. "The EMP blasts from the Vorax weapons did something to certain animals," Taiwan explained. "And to some humans too. We can share thoughts, share senses. Buck and I fought 5 Vorax soldiers together 2 days ago." "That's impossible," said a man standing next to Jisoo. He wore a white coat under his jacket. "A doctor or scientist." "Dr. Hun Kang, our chief medical officer," Jisoo introduced him. "And he's right. What you're describing is impossible." At that moment, alarm bells rang through the valley. A resistance fighter ran up to them. "Major, Vorax patrol coming from the East Ridge, at least 15 of them." Jae-soo turned to Taiwan. "If you're really military, now's the time to prove it. Help us fight or get out of our way." Taiwan nodded. "You'll see what Blake and I can do." As the resistance fighters took their positions, Taiwan knelt beside Buck. "Ready, friend," he whispered. The tiger's eyes met his, and Taiwan felt their minds begin to merge. The Vorax came quickly, firing their blue energy weapons. The resistance fought back with old human guns, but they were outnumbered. Taiwan and Bake moved as one. The tiger's speed and strength combined with Taiwan's tactical mind made them deadly. They attacked from the sides and behind, never staying in one place long enough to be targeted. Buck took down 3 Vorax soldiers with powerful leaps and bites that broke through alien armor. Taiwan used a knife and a stolen Vorax weapon to disable 4 more. When the fight ended, 7 Vorax lay dead from the combined human and tiger attack. The resistance had killed the rest, but 5 humans were wounded. Major Jisoo stared at Taiwan and Buck with new respect. "I've never seen anything like that," she said. "The way you moved together, it really was like you shared one mind." Dr. Kang stepped forward, his eyes bright with interest. "I need to examine both of you. This could be important. Maybe the most important discovery since the invasion." Taiwan felt tired from the mental connection, but he agreed. As they walked to the resistance base hidden in the valley, Jisoo walked beside him. "If what you can do can be taught to others," she said quietly, "we might have a real chance against the Vorax." Taiwan looked at Buck, who padded silently beside him. "I think that's why we found you." This is just the beginning. 2 weeks passed in the resistance base. Dr. Kang ran test after test on Ta-1 and Bak. He took blood samples, brain scans, and watched them connect their minds over and over. "I think I understand now," Dr. Kang said one morning. He showed Ta-1 and Major Ji-Su a screen with DNA patterns. "Some humans have a special gene that the rest of us don't have. Captain Kim has it. The EMP waves from the Vorax weapons turned this gene on, like flipping a switch." "And the animals?" Ji-Su asked. "The same thing happened to them, but different," Dr. Kang explained. "Their brains changed to send and receive thoughts, but only the top hunters, tigers, wolves, bears, eagles, seem affected." Ta-1 looked at the data. "Can you test other people to find this gene?" "Already did," Dr. Kang said with a smile. "We found 12 people in our base who have it, including Major Park." Ji-Su looked surprised. "Me? But I don't feel anything special." Dr. Kang pointed to a map on the wall. "We've sent teams to bring in wild animals from these areas, all places hit by heavy Vorax EMP blasts. You need to find your match, Major." Over the next week, Ta-1 began teaching the 12 people how to open their minds. They sat in circles with the captured wild animals nearby: wolves, mountain lions, even a young bear. Most made no progress. "You're trying too hard," Ta-1 told them. "Don't push your thoughts at them. Just be open. Feel their presence." Ji-Su spent hours each day with the 3 wolves they had found. She was getting frustrated. "Nothing is happening," she told Ta-1 as they watched the sunset from the base wall. "Maybe Dr. Kang is wrong about me." "It took me time too," Ta-1 said. "And it wasn't just any tiger. It was Bak. Maybe you haven't met your match yet." That night, the base alarms went off. A Vorax scout ship had been spotted nearby. Everyone rushed to battle stations. As Ji-Su ran to the command center, she passed the pen where the wolves were kept. The largest wolf, a gray female, was staring at her. Ji-Su felt a sudden pull in her mind, like someone calling her name. Without thinking, she opened the pen gate. The wolf ran out, followed by the other 2. "What are you doing?" a guard shouted. "Trust me," Ji-Su said, though she wasn't sure herself. When the Vorax attacked, they targeted the west wall of the base. The resistance fought back, but they were losing ground. Ta-1 and Bak were fighting on the east side, too far to help. Ji-Su found herself running toward the fight, the 3 wolves keeping pace beside her. Her heart beat fast, and her head felt strange, light but clear. Then she felt it. The mind of the gray wolf touched hers. It wasn't words, it was feelings, pictures, smells. The wolf showed her things through its eyes. Vorax soldiers hiding behind rocks that humans couldn't see. Weak points in alien armor that the wolf's sharp eyes noticed. Ji-Su directed the wolves with her thoughts. They attacked as a pack, moving together in perfect harmony. Ji-Su herself fought better than ever before, knowing exactly when to shoot and where to move. When Ta-1 finally reached the west wall, he found Ji-Su standing with the 3 wolves around her. Dead Vorax soldiers lay scattered on the ground. "You found your match," Ta-1 said with a smile. "Or should I say, matches?" Ji-Su nodded, her hand resting on the gray wolf's head. "Not just one animal. A pack. I can feel all 3, but this one, I named her Moon, is the strongest connection." The next day, Dr. Kang officially started Project Guardian. Ta-1 and Ji-Su would lead the training of all bonded pairs, and now packs, as they found more. "We need a proper place to train," Ji-Su said as they planned. Ta-1 looked at the map. "I know somewhere. An old military training ground in the mountains, big enough for humans and animals to learn to fight together." Bak growled his approval. Through their bond, Ta-1 felt the tiger's excitement. They weren't just survivors anymore. They were becoming warriors. As more animals were brought in, more connections were made. The resistance now had a weapon the Vorax never expected: Earth's own beasts, fighting alongside humans who could guide their natural hunting skills. This is just the beginning, Ta-Wan told Jisoo as they watched the training begin. The real fight starts now. 1 month later, the old military training ground became the home of Project Guardian. 30 human-animal pairs now trained there every day. Some humans bonded with wolves like Jisoo. Others connected with bears, mountain lions, eagles, or wild dogs. Ta-Wan and Baek watched from a hill as the pairs practiced fighting together. "They're getting better," Jisoo said as she joined them. Her 3 wolves followed close behind her. "But are they ready for a real mission?" Ta-Wan nodded. "We can't wait much longer. The Voraks are building something big near the old city. Our scouts saw it yesterday." That night, they gathered in the command tent. Maps spread across a large table showed the area around the fallen city of Seoul. A large red X marked a spot 15 miles from the city center. "This is a Voraks communications hub," Ta-Wan explained to the group. "They use it to talk to their ships in space. If we can destroy it, we will cut off their main force from their leaders." "It will be heavily guarded," said Han, a former police officer now bonded with a black bear. "How many of us will go?" 5 pairs, Ta-Wan said. "A small team can move faster and stay hidden better." Jisoo and her wolves, Han and his bear, Sumin with her eagle, Dai and his mountain lion, and Baek and me. They spent 3 days planning the attack. They would strike at night when fewer Voraks would be outside the building. Sumin's eagle would scout ahead. The larger animals would provide the main attack force. On the night of the mission, they moved silently through the forest toward the Voraks hub. The building was tall and made of strange black metal. Blue lights pulsed along its sides. Sumin sent her eagle high above them. Through their bond, she could see what the bird saw. 12 Voraks guards outside, more inside. "More than we expected," Sumin whispered. "But we can still do this." Ta-Wan looked at each team member. "Remember your training. Stay connected to your animals. Move as one. If anyone gets in trouble, pull back. We all come home." Jisoo's wolves went first, silent shadows in the darkness. They took down 3 guards before any alarm sounded. Then everything happened at once. Baek and Ta-Wan charged toward the main door, moving in perfect sync. The tiger's power combined with Ta-Wan's human strategy made them nearly unstoppable. They broke through the first line of Voraks defense. Han and his bear smashed through a side wall, creating a second entrance. Dai and his mountain lion slipped inside through an upper window spotted by Sumin's eagle. Inside, chaos broke out. The Voraks had never faced such an attack before. Their weapons were designed to fight humans with guns, not animals that moved too quickly to target. Ta-Wan felt the battle through his own eyes and backs. The tiger's senses showed him dangers before they appeared. Together, they fought their way to the central control room. "Plant the bombs," Ta-Wan called to Jisoo as she and her wolves joined them. "We'll hold them off." While Jisoo placed explosive charges on the main computers, Voraks reinforcements arrived. A new group of soldiers with heavier armor pushed into the room. One fired a shot that caught Baek in the shoulder. The tiger roared in pain. Ta-Wan felt the burning wound as if it were his own. He screamed, dropping to one knee. "Ta-Wan," Jisoo shouted, "we need to go now. Charges are set." Through the pain, Ta-Wan saw more Voraks coming. "Everyone out," he ordered. Han and his bear created an exit path, smashing through walls. Sumin's eagle guided them from above, showing the safest route. Ta-Wan helped Baek move, the tiger limping but still powerful. They were halfway back to the forest when the bombs exploded. The Voraks hub lit up the night sky with blue and orange fire. The ground shook beneath their feet. "We did it," Jisoo said, her face bright in the glow of the distant fire. But their victory came at a cost. Dai's mountain lion had been killed. Dai himself was silent with grief, the connection suddenly torn from his mind. Baek's wound was deep, and Ta-One could feel the tiger's strength fading. Back at the base, Dr. Kang worked to save Buck. "The wound is bad," he told Ta-One. "I don't know if he'll make it." That night, Ta-One sat beside the injured tiger. He placed his hands on Buck's head and did something he had never tried before. Instead of just sharing thoughts, he pushed his own strength into the tiger. "Take what you need," he whispered. "We fight together. We heal together." As the sun rose, Dr. Kang found them both asleep. Buck's wound had begun to heal much faster than normal. But Ta-One looked pale and weak, as if the healing had taken something from him. The first strike had succeeded, but now they knew the true price of their bond. News of the successful attack on the Orcs spread quickly. More resistance groups joined Project Guardian. The training ground became crowded with new fighters hoping to bond with animals. Ta-One was in the medical tent when Colonel Sang Ho-Yoon arrived with 20 soldiers. The colonel was tall and had hard eyes that seemed to judge everything they saw. "Captain Kim," Colonel Yoon said with a stiff bow. "Your attack was impressive. I've come to take command of Project Guardian." Ta-One stood up slowly. He was still weak from helping Buck heal. "This project is already under Major Park's command. We don't need." "This is not a request," Colonel Yoon interrupted. He handed Ta-One a paper. "Orders from Central Command. What's left of it, anyway? This project is too important to be run by a major and a captain." Jae-Soo entered the tent, her wolves close behind her. "What's happening?" "Colonel Yoon is taking over," Ta-One said, his voice tight. Colonel Yoon looked at the wolves with narrow eyes. "I've studied your reports. The animals are effective weapons, but they could be better." "They're not weapons," Ta-One said. "They're partners." The colonel ignored him. For the next week, he changed everything. He turned the training into harsh military drills. He brought in scientists who took blood and tissue samples from the animals, often hurting them in the process. "He doesn't understand the bond," Jae-Soo told Ta-One as they watched the training. "You can't force it, or treat the animals like tools." Ta-One nodded. Buck was finally healing well, but the tiger stayed away from the training area. He didn't trust the colonel or his scientists. One morning, Dr. Kang came to Ta-One's tent. His face was pale and worried. "You need to see something," he whispered. He led Ta-One and Jae-Soo to a building at the edge of the camp. It was guarded by Colonel Yoon's soldiers. They slipped in through a back door that Dr. Kang had found. Inside, Ta-One saw something that made his blood run cold. Animals in cages, bears, wolves, and mountain lions with metal devices attached to their heads. Some had metal parts replacing injured legs or claws. "They're putting machines in them," Dr. Kang explained. "The colonel thinks he can make them stronger, more deadly. But it's breaking the natural bond. The animals are in pain. The humans connected to them are suffering too." They found Han sitting beside his bear. The animal had metal plates on its head and back. Han looked sick, his skin gray and his eyes unfocused. "I can hardly feel him anymore," Han whispered. "His thoughts are broken, full of pain." Ta-One felt rage build inside him. "This ends now." They went to Colonel Yoon's office. The argument was short and heated. "You're destroying what makes the bond work," Ta-One said. "The animals must come willingly. The connection is based on trust, not control." Colonel Yoon laughed. "Trust. These are beasts, Captain. Tools for war. With the right technology, we can make them perfect weapons." "I won't let you continue," Ta-One said. The colonel's face hardened. "Then you are relieved of duty. Guards, take Captain Kim and Major Park to the holding cells. They are now under arrest for questioning orders." As the guards moved toward them, a deep roar shook the building. Buck crashed through the window, glass flying everywhere. The guards raised their guns, but Jae-Soo's wolves appeared at the door behind them, growling with teeth bared. "You see," Ta-One said to the colonel, "they feel what we feel. They know when we're in danger." That night, Taiwan made his choice. He could not stay and watch the animals be turned into machines. He gathered those who felt the same way. Jisoo, Dr. Kang, and 10 other human-animal pairs. "We're leaving," he told them. "Colonel Yoon has betrayed what Project Guardian should be. We'll continue our fight against the Vorax, but in our own way." As they slipped away from the camp, Jisoo asked, "Where will we go?" Taiwan looked at back, the tiger moving silently beside him. "North. There are mountains where the Vorax haven't gone. We'll find others who understand what this bond truly means." Behind them, alarms began to sound. Colonel Yoon had discovered their escape. "He'll call us traitors," Dr. Kang said. "He'll hunt us." "Let him try," Taiwan said. "We have the true guardians of Earth with us." As they moved through the dark forest, Taiwan felt something new through his bond with Bak, a sense of rightness, of purpose. They were not running away. They were finding their true path in this war. For 2 weeks, Taiwan led the small group north through mountains and forests. They moved at night and hid during the day. They had to avoid both Vorax patrols and Colonel Yoon's soldiers, who were now hunting them as traitors. One evening, as they set up camp in a hidden valley, Su Min's eagle spotted something strange. "There's a building in the next valley," Su Min told Taiwan. "Not human or Vorax design. It's different." Taiwan, Jisoo, and Dr. Kang went to look. They climbed a ridge and looked down into the next valley. There, half hidden in the trees, was a round building made of dark metal. No lights showed from outside, but they could see Vorax guards at the entrance. "What is it?" Jisoo asked. "I don't know," Taiwan said, "but the Vorax are protecting it. That means it's important." They watched until night fell. Then Taiwan made a plan. "Su Min, your eagle can fly over without being noticed. See if there's a way in from the roof. Jisoo, your wolves can take out the guards quietly. Dr. Kang, stay with the others. If we're not back by morning, keep moving north." With Bak by his side, Taiwan followed Jisoo and her wolves down to the building. Su Min's eagle found a small opening in the roof, big enough for humans but too small for Bak or the wolves. "Stay here," Taiwan told Bak. "Guard the entrance. I'll keep our connection open so you can see through my eyes." Jisoo's wolves took down the guards without a sound. Then she and Taiwan climbed to the roof and slipped inside through the opening. They found themselves in a strange room filled with tanks of liquid. Inside each tank floated what looked like small Vorax, but smaller and not fully formed. "They're growing them," Jisoo whispered, "like plants." Taiwan moved to a large computer screen on the wall. Strange symbols flashed across it, but some had been translated to human languages. "This is a research station," he said, reading the screen. "They're studying Earth life." As they moved deeper into the building, they found more tanks. These contained Earth animals, wolves, bears, snakes, and even a tiger. All were alive but sleeping in the liquid. "Why are they studying our animals?" Jisoo asked. Taiwan found another computer. This one had more translated text. As he read it, his eyes grew wide. "Jisoo, this is important. The Vorax. They're afraid of our predators." "What? Why would advanced aliens fear Earth animals?" Taiwan pointed to the screen. "It says here that Vorax evolved on a world with no large predators. Their planet had plant eaters and small hunters, but nothing like tigers or wolves. Their bodies aren't built to fight tooth and claw. That's why our attacks worked so well." Jisoo looked at the sleeping animals in the tanks. "That's why they're studying them. To find weaknesses." "There's more," Taiwan said, reading further. "It says they chose Earth because their scans showed our predator species were dying out. They thought it meant our planet was weak, easy to take." Jisoo's face showed understanding. "That's why the EMP waves affected the predators. It wasn't by accident. The Vorax were targeting them specifically, trying to disable what they feared most." But it backfired, Ta-1 said. Instead of killing the predators, it created the bond between them and us. A sudden alarm blared through the building. They had been discovered. We need to get this information to everyone, Ta-1 said. All resistance groups need to know. They ran back the way they came, but Vorax soldiers blocked their path. They were trapped. Then the wall beside them exploded inward. Buck stood in the new opening, roaring his challenge. Behind him, the rest of their group had come to help. How did you know? Ta-1 asked Dr. Kang as they fought their way out. Bake led us here, the doctor replied. When he felt your danger through your bond, he wouldn't take no for an answer. They escaped into the forest, but not before downloading the Vorax research data to a small device Dr. Kang carried. That night, as they made camp far from the research station, Ta-1 shared what they had learned. The Vorax fear Earth's predators, he told the group. That's our advantage. And now we need to tell everyone fighting against them. How? Asked Sumin. Colonel Yoon controls all the communication equipment. Ta-1 looked at Ji-Soo, who smiled as she understood his plan. We're going to steal the colonel's radio, Ji-Soo said, and we're going to tell the world how to fight back. Ta-1's group moved carefully through the forest. They were heading back south, toward Colonel Yoon's base. It was dangerous, but they needed the radio equipment to share what they had learned. The colonel has doubled the guards, Sumin reported. Her eagle had been watching the base from high above. And they have new weapons. Big guns that could hurt our animals from far away. Ta-1 frowned. We need a different plan. We can't just attack. Before they could think of another way, they heard the distant sound of explosions. Through their bonds, they felt their animals grow tense and alert. Something's wrong, Ji-Soo said, her eyes unfocused as she shared her wolves' senses. Vorax ships, many of them. They're attacking the base. They ran to a high ridge where they could see Colonel Yoon's base in the valley below. 5 Vorax ships hovered above it, firing blue energy beams at the buildings and walls. Soldiers ran in panic as sections of the base burned. The colonel must have used the animals he modified to attack a Vorax target, Dr. Kang said. Now they're striking back. Ta-1 watched the destruction with mixed feelings. Colonel Yoon had betrayed the true meaning of the bond, but the people at the base were still humans fighting against the aliens. We have to help them, he said finally. What? Su-min looked shocked. The colonel called us traitors. He would have killed us. We're not doing it for him, Ta-1 explained. We're doing it because they have bonded pairs there, animals and humans who didn't choose his way but couldn't escape, and because every human who dies is one less fighter against the Vorax. They made a quick plan. Their small group couldn't defeat 5 Vorax ships, but they could create a distraction to help people escape from the base. Ji-Soo's wolves led the way, slipping through the trees until they reached the back of the base where the wall had been damaged by the attack. They found a small group of soldiers and bonded pairs trapped by fallen buildings and Vorax ground troops. Among them was Colonel Yoon. His uniform was torn and burned, and his leg was badly injured. He stared in shock as Ta-1 and Bake appeared before him. You came back, the colonel said. Why? Because we're fighting the same enemy, Ta-1 replied, and because we know their weakness now. While Su-min's eagle distracted the Vorax by diving at their heads, Ta-1 and Bake cleared a path through the rubble. Ji-Soo's wolves guided the survivors toward the forest. Dr. Kang helped the injured, including Colonel Yoon. As they reached the edge of the forest, a Vorax ship spotted them. It turned to fire. Ta-1 looked at Bake, and in that moment, they made a decision together. They ran back into the open, drawing the ship's attention away from the others. The ship fired. Ta-1 and Bak dodged the blast, moving in perfect sync. Then Han appeared with his bear, both looking healthier than when Ta-1 had last seen them. The metal implants were gone from the bear's body. I removed them, Han explained quickly. You were right. The bond works best when it's natural. Together, the two humans and their animal partners kept the Vorax ship focused on them while the others escaped. When everyone was safe, they ran into the trees where the ship couldn't see them. That night, in a cave deep in the forest, Colonel Yoon sat with Ta-1 and Jisoo. "I was wrong," the colonel said, his voice low. "I thought I could improve what nature created, make it more efficient for war." He looked at the surviving animals, resting with their human partners. "But I see now. The bond is about trust and respect, not control." "We found something important," Ta-1 told him. He explained what they had discovered at the Vorax research facility, how the aliens feared Earth's predators because they had none on their own world. The colonel's eyes widened. "That's why our modified animals failed in battle. The machines blocked the natural predator instincts that the Vorax fear." "We need to tell everyone," Jisoo said. "All resistance groups everywhere." Colonel Yoon nodded. "My communication equipment was destroyed, but I know where we can find another radio strong enough to reach across continents." For the first time, Ta-1 felt hope. The knowledge they had gained could change the course of the war. And now, with Colonel Yoon's help, they could share it with the world. "Tomorrow," Ta-1 said, looking at the faces around him, "we become one resistance again. One pack." Bake rumbled his approval, and the other animals seemed to nod in agreement. The alliance had been formed. 3 months passed. Across the world, resistance groups heard Ta-1's message. From the mountains of Europe to the jungles of South America, humans searched for animals affected by the Vorax EMP waves. Those with the special gene learned to bond with Earth's predators. Ta-1 and Jisoo traveled between groups, teaching others how to strengthen their bonds. Dr. Kang studied the connection further, helping pairs work better together. Colonel Yoon used his military experience to organize the growing army of human-animal teams. Now they were ready for the biggest attack yet, Operation Wild Earth. "The Vorax Command Center is here," Colonel Yoon said, pointing to a map spread on a table. Leaders from resistance groups around the world watched through video links. "It controls all their forces on Earth. If we destroy it, they will be confused and weak." Ta-1 looked at the map. The command center was built in what used to be Washington, D.C. It would be the hardest target yet, with hundreds of Vorax guards and ships protecting it. "We attack from all sides," Jisoo explained. "Small teams of bonded pairs, moving in fast and quiet. The Vorax will not expect so many predators at once." The leaders agreed. The date was set. For the next week, everyone prepared for battle. On the night before the attack, Ta-1 sat with Bake under the stars. The tiger was now fully healed and stronger than ever. Their bond had grown so deep that sometimes Ta-1 couldn't tell where his thoughts ended and Bake's began. "Tomorrow will change everything," he told the tiger, "one way or another." Jisoo joined them, her 3 wolves at her side. "Are you ready?" she asked. Ta-1 nodded. "I've been ready since the day they came." At dawn, Operation Wild Earth began. Around the Vorax Command Center, hundreds of human-animal pairs attacked at the same time. Wolves, tigers, bears, mountain lions, eagles, and even crocodiles in the nearby river, all guided by human minds that gave their natural hunting skills new purpose. Ta-1 and Bake led the main attack on the front gates. As they charged forward, Vorax soldiers fired their weapons. Bake moved like water between the blue energy beams, faster than any normal tiger. Through their bond, Ta-1 guided each step, each jump. They broke through the first line of defense. Behind them came Jisoo with her wolves and other pairs from around the world. The Vorax fell back, clearly afraid of the earth animals that seemed to fight with human intelligence. Inside the command center, Ta-1 and Bake fought their way toward the main control room. Suddenly, they faced the Vorax commander, larger than the others, with special armor that glowed blue. The commander fired a weapon that hit Bake in the side. The tiger stumbled. Ta-1 felt the pain as if it were his own, but they kept moving forward. The commander fired again, hitting Ta-One in the shoulder. As they both struggled with their wounds, Ta-One felt their bond grow even stronger. In that moment of greatest need, their minds merged more completely than ever before. They were no longer human and tiger. They were one being with the best of both, human thought and tiger strength, human strategy and tiger speed. They moved as one, dodging the next shot. They attacked as one, Bak's claws tearing through the commander's armor, while Ta-One used a stolen Vorax weapon to disable the shield generators in the room. The Vorax commander fell. The control systems around them sparked and burned. Outside, the other human-animal pairs had similar success. The Vorax soldiers began to retreat, falling back to their ships. For the first time since they arrived on Earth, the aliens knew fear. 3 days later, the last Vorax ship left Earth's atmosphere. Their leaders had seen enough. This planet was not the easy target they had expected. Its predators, and the humans who bonded with them, were too dangerous. As the Resistance celebrated their victory, Ta-One stood on a hill with Bak, Jisoo, and her wolves. "They're gone," Jisoo said, watching the sky where the alien ships had vanished. "We did it." Ta-One nodded, his hand resting on Bak's head. "The war is over, but this is just the beginning." "What do you mean?" Jisoo asked. "The bond between humans and animals has changed everything," Ta-One explained. "We can't go back to the way things were. We learned to respect and protect Earth's predators, and they helped save us all." Across the world, humans and animals were forging new relationships, partnerships rather than ownership. The ability to truly understand another species had opened doors no one had imagined before. "We're no longer just humans living on Earth," Ta-One said, watching the sun rise on a new day. "Now we are truly part of it." Bake rumbled his agreement. The tiger knew, better than any human could, that this was how it always should have been.